Hello everyone, how are you doing? Live here from Dubai. So things are not looking good for the Middle East with this war, Israel, USA, now Turkey is involved as well as really recently. I think Iran launched the missile against Turkey as well. So lots of chaos, but at the same time, when you look at the market, especially crypto, it's been doing very well. So we're gonna speak about that, and I'm gonna show you that why I'm bullish for Bitcoin for the next few months. So when you look at Bitcoin, as you can see here, we are pretty strong, almost 6% in the last 24 hours, almost about 72k. 72 is the level that I'm looking at because you have lots of liquidations around that level. So if we pass 72k, we probably have a short squeeze towards 85, 90k. This doesn't mean this is the end of the bear market, but overall, when I look at Bitcoin against other assets like I'm going to show like gold and Nvidia, I think this is a good time to start dollar cost average into Bitcoin. We could still have the bottom around 50 or 55, but I'm expecting at least a decent bounce every single cycle in the bear market. We had bounces along the way, and I expect this time the same thing. So as you can see here, we have really crazy situation in the Middle East and in the world. You have so many parties involved, as you can see here. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Israel. I'm in Dubai at the moment. So you have now Turkey also probably involved in this. So things are not looking good for the macro in general, even if I'm still really bullish on a few assets. And one of them, of course, is Bitcoin. So now let's go into BTC. So this is one of the most important charts. I don't see many people speaking about this. Most analysts and investors speak about this chart. It's an important one, of course, Bitcoin against the dollar, but the true chart, or the one that you want to look at, is Bitcoin against gold, because gold is a true form of value. It's actually increasing value every single year. It's not devaluing through inflation like the dollar. So if you want to see if Bitcoin is strong or not, the chart to look at is Bitcoin against gold. And the chart looks very close to a bottom, in my opinion. So we have between 12 and 10 the bottom for Bitcoin. We are currently at 13. So if you look on 2, 3, 5 year time frame, I think this is a pretty good level. So the last time we were this low, Bitcoin was around in December of 22, 16, 17k, and then had a massive bounce. Again, we are getting to the same level where Bitcoin was at the bear market lows. So I think it's a good chance that between these two levels, between 12 and 10, Bitcoin starts to outperform gold. And as you can see, actually lately, if you look at the last 2 weeks, actually Bitcoin is starting to perform a bit better. So 10% against gold doesn't mean anything, but we are starting to see some signs. Another few things I'm looking at is when you look at momentum and RSI, we are at absolute lows. So yes, we could go lower, but in general, I think there is a really good probability that this is the bottom, or the bottom is near for Bitcoin against gold. And that's the most important chart. If Bitcoin is strong against gold, it means it's performing really, really well. Instead of just looking at Bitcoin against the dollar keeps devaluing every single year. So a better metric is Bitcoin against gold. As you can see, we had the bottom here in 2015 for Bitcoin against gold, 2018, also around this level around 2022. So every single time a momentum indicator and RSI were this oversold, we had Bitcoin performing really, really well. So if Bitcoin starts to perform, we could see a potential bounce of BTC towards here, 21, a 52% increase against gold. This doesn't mean now Bitcoin is starting to change the trend against gold, but we could see a pretty good move here. Where things really shift for Bitcoin is to close above this key level of 22. So we broke structure right here around 22. So if we start closing above this level, you could expect Bitcoin to attempt new all-time highs, but we are still far from it. We need to close first of all, we need to close above the 12 and 21 EMAs On the weekly, that's really, really important. On the daily, we are starting to, which is a really good sign. So if in the next few days, Bitcoin can actually break out above these two EMAs, there is a pretty good chance that we have a bounce. I don't know how far are we going to, but at least around 16 I would expect, and really good bullish scenario would be to return back to this range around 21. So let's see, still not confirmed, but I like what I see. Let's see if we can start closing above 14 and then returning to the previous range. Another chart I'm looking at, and this is one of the most important charts as well, is Bitcoin against Nvidia. So Nvidia has been the best performer of the last 15 years. So if you want to see if Bitcoin is strong or not, you need to compare it to the best. Nvidia has been the best. That's why it's the largest stock in the world, almost 4 or 5 trillion. And also when you look at Bitcoin against Nvidia, we are pretty close to the bottom in my opinion. So you have this monthly demand zone from 2017. And when you look at momentum and RSI on the monthly is at the lows, on the weekly too. So there is a pretty good chance as well that the bottom of Bitcoin against Nvidia is in. This doesn't mean Bitcoin is going to be stronger than Nvidia. I'm not so sure about that. But I think on the short term, we could see a bounce of Bitcoin. And we are starting to see on the daily, we are starting to close above the 12 and 21 EMAs, which are a very good metric to track trend. So as you can see, really strong. We could easily get to this level here. This would be a pretty good move for Bitcoin. So 40% move against Nvidia. I think we're going to see some money rotating to Bitcoin, especially in times of war where currencies are devaluing. You can just, with your phone, if you have a Wi-Fi connection, just buy Bitcoin. It's easier than to buy gold. Gold, it's far more difficult. You need to store in a really good place. You need to have security guards. It's difficult to transfer. So in times of war, I actually agree, especially for the day-to-day people. Not everyone is a billionaire. Bitcoin is a far better form than gold. You can take $1 million of gold in your pocket with Bitcoin. You can. So in scenarios like this of war, I actually think Bitcoin is far better for the public. So looking good for Bitcoin. Let's see if we can confirm. Now let's look against the dollar. So this is the most important level, 72. If we can start closing above this, and there is a pretty good sign, we are starting to close above the 12 and 21 exponential moving averages. If we can do that, we probably could have at least a move around 83 to 90K, even if this is just a bounce and not a reversal like we had here, for example. So last cycle, Bitcoin had a pretty good bounce. From 33, we went to 51, so 46%, and then we continue moving down. If I look at this chart, we could definitely come to 90s and then return back to here. I don't think the bear market low is very far from here. Yes, we had a 77% drawdown for Bitcoin last cycle, but it's a law of diminished returns. So you have less returns, but also the drawdowns are lower. So we could definitely see a drawdown of Bitcoin for this cycle of 60%. So that would be a 50K. Also, yeah, could be the low around 59, but overall we could see a 50K price for Bitcoin. And that between where we are now and 50K, I think is a really good level to dollar cost average. Everyone wanted to buy Bitcoin around 120s. Now no one wants to buy Bitcoin. Always the same thing. When you look at crypto and fear index, actually it's at 9, it's at extreme fear. So this is a terminal I've been building for investors and traders, where you have all the information about crypto, stock market. You also can monitor the situation across the world. So you have smart money as well, where you can see what the best investors in the world are doing. Still didn't launch this. I'm going to launch this in the next few weeks. If you are interested, you can DM me on Instagram. Now let's look at altcoins. Altcoins are actually performing well. When you look at circumstances, let's look at my most bullish project, Tau Tensor. As you can see, we have this resistance here. If Tau starts to close above this trend line here, above the 12 and 21, we might have a move of Tau towards 300s, 400s. So this is a key level for Tau on the weekly, around 300. So if Tau goes here, we probably can go back. If we close above 300, trend is different and we can expect Tau to do well. I think Tau is one of the most interesting projects in crypto. is trying to combine AI and crypto, and you have 128 decentralized companies. Some of them are performing well. The consensus mechanism that DAO has is one of the best to evaluate subjective data, not only like Bitcoin that only looks at objective data. So it's pretty nice, pretty revolutionary project. And I think from all the projects, I think DAO and Hyperliquid are the best ones. DAO is also at range lows against Bitcoin. Against Ethereum, starting to perform well. I like the chart. I think we are starting to form a bottom pattern against Ethereum. So I think he's in a good level to accumulate. Hyperliquid, one of my favorite projects as well. Making a lot of money, almost 100 million a month. You can trade crypto, stocks, commodities. You're going to have now the integration with Polymarket. Just an insane project. I think for me, this is the Solana of this cycle along with DAO. I think those are the most two interesting projects we've seen this cycle. Hyperliquid also looks good. When the markets close on the weekend, traders use Hyperliquid, and you see a lot of volume even for metals, which is pretty insane. They launched this feature of trading metals a few weeks ago, and the rest has billions in volume. So Hyperliquid is a really interesting one. Hyperliquid against Bitcoin also looking good. One of the few altcoins that actually is performing well against BTC. Hyperliquid against Ethereum also pretty strong. So definitely one of the best altcoins out there. Another one I really like, even if the chart is looking bearish now, is Zcash. I think, especially in times like this, privacy is more important than ever. And I think Zcash is one of the few projects that also I find the narrative pretty interesting. Bitcoin is amazing, brings transparency to the system, which we need. But for other things, if you have a lot of money or you want to have privacy, Zcash is really good. So I think Zcash is one of the projects I think will survive this bear market. Solana, I also think is the best layer one. I think it will do well too, along with Ethereum. There is a chance for Sui too, but I'm most bullish on Ethereum and Solana for now. So these are the projects I'm looking at. This is the current state of the macro. If you like, subscribe and comment below. Thank you very much.